Hi, Diana here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the cusp that I'm a part of. I would consider myself part of a couple of cusps. One cusp would be that I'm Mexican American. I also have a white partner. So I fall in a couple of lines. I've grown up most of my life in Baltimore, so not surrounded by a huge Mexican population. So kind of living on two sides of being surrounded by a lot of Caucasian folks and also being a part of the Mexican American community in my own family. So that's definitely a cusp for me. I also consider myself, I'm at the top of the millennial cusp or millennial generation. So I almost consider myself part of that cusp of Gen X and millennials. So there's a lot of Gen X ideals that I agree with, a lot of millennial ideals that I can probably align with, but I'm really on that borderline of Gen X and millennial when it comes to that. But thank you for listening. Hopefully this was helpful to you and something you can identify with. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Sarah Miles, LGPC, and I cusp a few different communities. So first, I definitely am somewhere on the border between Gen Z and millennial. I kind of have aspects of both of these generations. I also cusp the Catholic community. I was raised Catholic, I went through all my sacraments, I got confirmed. I still celebrate Catholic holidays with my family, and yet I don't really identify as a Catholic myself anymore. And then finally, I cusp between cat and dog lovers. I don't think we should have to choose between the two, and I love all animals. So yeah, I'm curious what communities you cusp.
One way that I identify as a cusper is by being on the cusp of the generations of millennial and Gen Z, as someone born in the mid-90s, being either one of the youngest millennials or one of the eldest Gen Zs, depending on how you view the cutoff. Another aspect of cusping that I fall into is within the zodiac sun signs. I am on the Gemini Cancer cusp, meaning that depending on how you look at it, I could have aspects of both of those sun signs.
Hi, my name is NOELLE, LPCC. I identify as a cusper in a couple of different ways. First is that I identify as queer. A lot of times people will make assumptions about me that I am heterosexual, that I'm straight, and that is not the case. I have been in a relationship with my partner for about 8 years now, and we identify as queer. Other things that would label me as a cusper is I'm someone who has a chronic illness, but I look healthy, relatively, and I am in an able body, but I still experience, problems and stressors related to having a chronic illness, especially an invisible illness, although mine is sometimes not invisible. But yeah, those are just a few ways in which I identify as a cusper. Thanks.
I would say I identify as a cusper in the traditional form as being between two generations. I identify in the way of being born in the Gen X kind of cohort, but then also educated in the millennial cohort. I also identify it in the ways of being heteronormative, kind of like presenting, but maybe not necessarily the full story behind the scenes. So I cusp in that area. In addition, I cusp in the way of social economic growth in my family between a rural setting and an urban and educated setting in the world of therapy. I hope that helps some people understand how we might view cuspers and why we work with them in our therapeutic practice and why we do our best work with them when they come forward with their own cusping tendencies. Thank you.